Welcome to the Matcha Guardians podcast, brought to you by Matcha.com. Here we focus on the biggest trending health topics of our time, featuring the greatest and upcoming wellness advocates. Now, here are the Matcha Guardians, certified nutritionist Diana Weil and medical journalist Ilara Hajib-Taras.
Welcome to this week's episode. I am always excited about all of our guests, but particularly excited about this one. We have a newborn specialist on the podcast.
So please help us welcome Maria Fernanda Etienne, a newborn specialist with over 20 years of experience that I personally have been working with during the last few weeks of postpartum. And with Diana expecting and myself going through it right now, we thought, what better person to have on the podcast than Maria? So welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, Lara and Diana.
How did you become a newborn specialist? How does one become a newborn specialist?
Well, this is actually a very interesting story because I actually graduated as a graphic designer, and I have my first son when I was very young. I was 18, and as a first mom, a young mom, I actually didn't have a motherhood like my mom or my sister to support me, to guide me, and I didn't know nothing. My husband was there to support me, but unfortunately, it was not what I was looking for as I becoming a new mom. And I did what I was able to do my own, which was not sleeping during the first 2 weeks, always worry about my son crying. And I actually felt that I didn't enjoy him as a mom. I was always just worried about him. And I felt like as a new mom, this is not natural. And after obviously few years, I said to my husband, I don't think I can go around as a graphic designer anymore. I want to do something better for my life to help other moms. And I took the route as a newborn specialist, which I love, is something that makes me who I am now. Not only as to helping mommies. I mean, it's a pleasure to know when a mom hires me. It's like a new experience because I feel like my babies are my teachers. And not only that I learn from them, but it also helped me to become a better mom and a better wife as well. And after that, after 10 years having my first, I have my second one and third and fourth. And I think I really now enjoy what motherhood is. Really is. Well, how was supposed to be with my first one. And I feel like helping mommies helped me cure that soul that I couldn't give my best to my son, my first son, by just giving my best. So when my mom hires me, it is a pleasure. I know I want to walk into their home and be able to give my 150. And most importantly, when I always say to my mommies, it's when I step out of the door, you guys will be the newborn specialist. That's my goal. My goal is for you guys to know how joyful it should be to becoming a mom, not having the experience that I did. So that is, how I became a newborn specialist and how I'm still enjoying every baby. It's amazing for me to be a parent for the mommies.
So in my mind and my experience, what makes Maria a newborn specialist is she's able to decipher the language that is newborns. And in the beginning, from a first-time mom's perspective, babies are just crying and you don't know why. And then as time goes on, and especially after working with Maria, you begin to decipher, you begin to uncode what this language is, what they're trying to get across, which I guess leads me to one of my first questions. And I think this is a question a lot of first-time parents have, second time, third time, fourth time. How do you get a newborn to stop crying?
Yes. There is a very unique technique that I use. I believe that every baby is different, but there's only one technique that I use for every single baby to stop them from crying. There is definitely one technique that I love to introduce to every single parent, and they see how easy the baby comes with me. And I said to them, it is not me. Promise it's not me. We'll wait for the baby to cry again, and I will help you get through it. So you will see how you actually stop the baby from crying.
What's the technique?
Let's pretend our baby is crying. Let's say nursing mommies. We are mommies nursing the baby. Baby's nice and calm. And after 6-7 minutes, baby's just unlatch and starts screaming. And our nature is come, you can nurse a little more. And the baby tries and screams again. And we'll probably switch the other side and the baby cries again. And you're like, okay, something's going on in here. The best way at that point, keep in mind that when we're nursing our babies are close to us. Yes? So now we have to keep our baby away from us because our babies being close to us is comforting. But wait a minute, why is my baby crying? Yes? So now we're going to stop the nursing and we want to focus on to figure out why our babies are crying by supporting baby's head, supporting baby butt. And you can actually stand up or you can sit down, either or will work. But when we are doing this technique, the most important thing that we'll have to keep in our mind is that we have to stay calm. I know it's so hard to use that word when our babies are crying, but you want to keep this in mind. When our babies are crying, they only talking to us. They're probably saying, Mommy, I need to burp. Mommy, I need more. But that's how they say the word, by screaming. Yes? So very important, when you're going to use this technique, you want to keep in your mind that you're going to help your baby. That's number one. And it's extremely important because I have used this technique with parents that are not ready, and I will know after. And I use this technique with parents that are ready, and you see a very quick result. Okay. So when we support the baby's head, support the baby butt, we're going to keep them away from us. Not this much away from us. I'm going to say maybe about 9, 12 inches away from us. By supporting the head, supporting the butt, we are giving the baby the right support, supporting the head, supporting the butt. And now we're going to keep our baby away from us. We're going to swing them, not high, not aggressive, just very calm and gentle. Now, keep something in mind. Baby's crying. Yes? So when babies are in the womb, they hear and they are familiar with loud sounds, meaning the blood flushing as mommy's, body. They hear the water, the abdominal flow, like always moving. And then they hear all the background noise. So it's very, very noisy inside. We don't know how high it is, but studies have come and reveals that it's as loud as a blender, when it's loud as a vacuum machine, it's as loud as a blow dryer. That's pretty loud, yeah. So if a baby cries, wah, 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 we cannot go shh. Have to go shh. But we also, when we switch, keep this in mind because we are calm. We're not going to go like shh, 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 shh. No, we're going to go like shh, soothing, switch, louder than our baby's crying. If we still hear our baby from crying and we don't hear our swishing, then that means not loud. Now, I'm not saying you should do it very close to your baby's ear. You want to do it nice and soothing, away from your baby's ear, just loud. Yes? So when you do this movement, which is the swinging, very softly, all these little things reminds baby that, wait a minute, when I was in the womb, my mommy used to walk and I used to go with little swing. Yes? I used to hear this water sound and it's louder than anybody can hear me screaming. Yes? And now I'm away from my mommy because being close to my mommy is making me feel discomfort. Why? We'll find out why. Yes? So all these little things, and then the movement that we do with our hands and making sure, most importantly, we are 100% sure that we're going to stop our baby from crying. Our baby will stop immediately. Immediately. I can do this with any baby that's crying. I don't have to do it myself. I can guide mommies through it. Just remember one thing. If you ever go through something that you don't like and it's more than 2 days, after 3 days it becomes a routine. Babies learns very quick. One mommy said to me, Maria, my baby's crying. I don't know why. It always happens at this time. And I was like, okay, I will call you at 5 o'clock. She would say, like, it happened around 4:55. And I was like, okay, great. I'll call you at 5 o'clock. Here it goes. FaceTime, baby screaming. Mom is like, what do I do? I'm like, okay. I guide the husband because her husband was calling the baby. And with that, they were like, what did you do? I was like, it wasn't me. It was you guys. I wasn't holding the baby. I just guide you guys through it. And then we'll find out what the baby needs. Because it's so important to understand that we have to stop our baby from crying, but then we have to provide and figure out why our babies are crying. Yeah? So every scene has their answer. So after I find out a little bit more, the background, I always say to parents, I'll recall what happened 2 hours ago. If you are feeding your babies 5 o'clock and your baby is crying and you go and call and recall what happened 2 hours ago, which means 3 o'clock. So from 3 to 5, you kind of like figure out what is missing. And that's how you actually get your answers. Once our baby stops crying, we want to find out why our baby is crying. If your baby was nursing after 6-7 minutes, the baby refused to go back but wants to go back, then that means the baby needs to birth. So when the baby stops from the crying, the technique that we use to stop a baby from crying, we put baby in our shoulder because baby just finished nursing. And your good focus is going to be on try to burp him. It may take a minute or two. Normally, a baby will give you a burp after that. And then you resume on feeding again. And now your baby's not crying anymore. It can be different scenes, but that's the very unique technique that I use to every single baby that I truly believe they're all unique. But that's the only thing that I haven't found out that it helps every single baby. And that's how we find out how our babies need to help to stop the baby from crying. Very easy.
You're a baby magician. So Maria, I think that, the newborn time is obviously such an intense time and can be really hard on parents. And now it's something that you work with, that's what you do. You work with newborns. So I'm curious, how do you take care of yourself and what lessons are in that you could teach new parents? Because obviously you figured out how to do this as a career, whereas most parents only have a newborn for, a month or so until they grow up a little bit. So what are some lessons that you've learned in order to take care of yourself while taking care of a newborn?
We tell our body what to do. Our mind is the smallest part of our body, but it's the strongest part of our body. If we tell our mind that we are not tired when we are tired, and our body doesn't know that we're tired, the body doesn't respond because the mind is telling you, I'm not tired. Yes? So that's number one. After that, again, every baby is different. Sometimes we have babies that are up at nighttime because they need comfort. Sometimes they are because they're burpy, gassy. Or sometimes they are up because they're not fussy. Yes? When you understand that this specific baby doesn't mean to keep you awake every hour or every 30 minutes, and you understand that this is just little body, it's just uncomfortable because it's fussy. It's just uncomfortable because it's gassy. It's just uncomfortable because it's very hungry. Then you put it in your mind that you're helping this little baby. It's not going to be 24 hours. It's going to be maybe 6 hours. I normally say to parents, don't look at the time if you're by yourself, because time can be a little frustrating. Because you're like, putting my baby for an hour to sleep, and you're not going to sleep. And that's when frustration comes and takes over your body. Yes? But when we know that this is just temporary, I look at my time because I like to tell mommies what I went through. But in my mind, the clock is just so I can share with parents. Not for me to get frustrated, because I know the reason why this baby is waking up. So once, as a lot I know, I do take 4 hours of break. That's when I pass out if I was tired. But mentally, I'm always positive because I know this baby doesn't mean to make your life not happy. He's already going through something. And we have to understand that we're here to help them. So when you put that in your mind, things go as smooth as they need to go. Now, another thing that I do tell parents, and sometimes I game a little bit, because sometimes keep in mind that if you don't sleep, you need to nurture your body by food. Yes? So our body nurtures by food or sleep. If we up in the middle of the night, I like to only drink some water. But if I'm up and I feel like my body's telling me it's getting into you, I take a bite or something. Energy. It could be like protein. It can be like any small like piece of chicken.
Cheese stick. Maria likes cheese sticks.
Regular crackers. Yeah, I like to go more to the protein. Because the protein give you very fast energy. Yes, just in case the baby's happening. Yes. And sometimes I go for sweet, which I shouldn't, but I do. And I'm just like, feel happy. And then those are the things that you nurture your mind to know that this is okay and it's temporary. And once you do that, and then obviously you listen to your body and relax, then you're back again, I do help my parents only 2 weeks straight, which means my body can go for 14 days without sleep. And then I obviously go home and relax and I nurture my body again. But when I go home, I give my 100% to my babies, my own babies, my other babies, And And then I sleep. I'm a sleepyhead. Sometimes I sleep 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours. But I also go away a lot. I mean, I like to go be in nature, and I kind of like nourish my body again, my mind again. And that's just how, I think it's easier for me to go on because I see things as like, yes, this is what I do for a living. But most importantly, I feel like I'm helping a little person. And the little person is going to help the family. And then when I leave, it's a happy family. And I'm also happy too, So it's all win-win.
So one of the things you touched on, Maria, with your example is, breastfeeding and sometimes a baby crying in the middle of breastfeeding. And I think that there's this idea that breastfeeding and nursing in particular is this really lovely bonding experience with your baby, but it can also be really stressful. And you can find yourself thinking, I don't even think that this baby wants to nurse. Like, should I be pumping and doing bottle feeding? Should I be doing formula? Kind of knowing when it's working and when it's not working. I guess it's very nuanced in my experience, right? So in your opinion, could you give an example of when a mommy you've worked with has been nursing and for some reason in that scenario, it was better for her to switch to pumping or to formula?
The only time I may suggest to a mommy to use the bottle is when I know that a mommy getting slightly stressed. When a mommy is worrying too much, or even just worrying. Because once a mommy is get to the stage and let's go back and how the mind can take your body, little tiny thing can just take over the whole big thing, which is our body. And that's when it doesn't want to work anymore. But there's a lot of mommies that they can go and like, give it a break. Let's come back. Let's switch position. Let's just dress our baby. Let's just do other stuff. Let's just play music. Let's just sing. There's so many different things. But I will have to work with the mom. And once I realize the mommies, unfortunately, went through a different stage, or if I see slightly decrease on the supply and a baby wants more, because at that point, it's not up to mommy. It is not up to mommy. I'm able to recognize those little few things. And also I can be able to recognize it with mommies too if I'm not present. That will be the only two ways where I may suggest for mommies to pump and give the bottle, or to introduce a formula, or to just switch the bottle.
What about the case of, and I know this firsthand, of a mommy that has oversupply? And, a lot of people think that having lots and lots of milk, it's not stressful. It's, a wonderful thing, but it actually can be just as stressful in some ways as an undersupply of milk.
So a mommy that has oversupply milk, again, now let's go back on the baby. Keep in mind that when a mommy nurses a baby, it's a teamwork right now. Yes, it could be the mommy has not much supply and baby wants to nurse. It could be that mommy has a lot of supply and baby cannot take too much. If that is our case, then obviously there's a little few things that I suggest to mommies to do. There's positions, there's probably expressing a little bit, probably pumping a little bit. I'm the person that like to work with as the time goes on. I'm the person who say, let's go with the flow. Because I can be with one mommy today, and in 2 days, things happen, things change. And I like to always introduce to the mommy what are we going through, because I'm the person who, when I'm there with the mommy, my 100% is mommy, baby, family. Like I have my own, but I kind of like put them a little bit on the side. But it's just the best for me, for the baby, even for my family. Like I'm not going to not give my 150 and leaving my sons, my family, and not be able to provide and do my best with my mommies. So when I'm there, I'm always watching little things. And once I figured out and I've introduced everything combined, it's easier for me to let mommy know this is what we're going through. This is what we probably should do. But it all depends, unfortunately, for every specific mommy and babies. In my opinion, those are very unique, very, very unique.
So, Maria, you mentioned that with your first kid that it was a little bit harder and that bonding was a little bit trickier just because you didn't know what he needed and it was, that you were going through your own things. And that with your other kids, it just, you figured out how to be a great mom. And so that that bonding was a little bit easier. But, for a lot of women, they don't necessarily bond with their babies right out of the gate. And that can be so challenging, I think, for women because the expectation is that you have a baby and you immediately are obsessed and love your baby. Do you have any advice for women who may be going through that or who have a fear of not bonding immediately with their baby?
Yes. The first thing going back again, it's be positive. Once our babies are not in the room anymore and when they're like right here with us, we have to be positive in the sense of like, you were safe in the womb, and now I'm going to make you safe. I'm going to keep you safe. I'm going to help you. We're going to get through this together. Again, once you have that in your mind, things get smooth as easy as possible. If a mommy would love to nurse, things becomes a little more easier because you can do skin to skin. Then you can see how comfortable and happy your baby is when you're nursing him. And if your baby's happy, your baby's sleeping, all those things to a mom, it helps us feel like happy because our babies are sleeping, our babies are comfortable. And let's go back. Like if a mommy don't want to nurse, it's okay too. We obviously going to give them a bottle, but we're going to bond with our baby. We're going to put our phones away. We're going to put our screens away. And it's just a baby in us when we give them the bottle. And again, all that is just going to help you make sure that your baby's getting what they need. And when you see the results, you're happy because your main goal is to make sure you're going to make this baby strong and happy and go on with the new life. Yes. And also there's a little things that I like to introduce parents. It's like a little bit of playtime, a little bit of reading, things that doesn't involve only feeding our babies and putting them to sleep. When your baby is awake, you can do a little bit of playtime. That kind of like puts us together because we see our baby doing stuff, picking up their head, using their fingers to touch something. So it's always not only feeding and crying and diapers. There's all the more things better than just that, yes? And then also you have like the reading, which babies obviously will know when they are out of the womb. They hear everything. And they don't need to visualize any book, but they are happy just to hear your voice, mommy's voice, daddy's voice. And there's also a few ways of how daddy also can do this bonding as well, if you guys could talk about it too as well. But yes, just with mommy alone, there's all a few little things that we can introduce by just like not only feeding, not only nursing, but there's all the things that we can do with our little people. I call my babies little person because they are little person. So there's the same thing. We do exercises, we do playtime, we do like, obviously the bath, the routines, the morning routine, the nighttime routine is so important to understand that the day starts and the day ends. Other than that, you're like, oh my God, all 24 hours with the baby, how is this going to happen? How am I going to keep on with the life with him? And like, you also have your me time. So there's a lot of things that definitely especially when I went through myself, there's so many things that we can do with our babies if we treat them as a little person. There's nothing different between them and us. It's just a tiny person that instead of saying, good morning, mommy, they say, wah, in the morning. That's it. That's the only difference.
True. So as far as when you're a nursing mommy with a newborn, the first couple weeks, it can be really hard on the dad. And I'm just saying this from firsthand experience because, inevitably nursing, it is a bit of a bonding process. You're their food source. It's a really rewarding experience. And then daddies, they're kind of sitting and feeling like the second string quarterback. So could you just give some examples, Maria, of how you can really help dads bond with their baby?
Sure.
And what the mom can do as well. Kind of like, because I do think that there is a bit of motherly instinct where you get a little territorial, especially when the baby's crying and you think, oh, I know how to comfort the baby. I can just feed the baby. And the dad is trying to help. What can the mother do and what tips do you have for the dad to help them bond?
Yes, I love that question because I feel like, as you guys know, when we have our babies, we bond a little bit more faster. But unfortunately, our daddies can be a little bit down. And not only because they can bond to the baby right away, but also keep in mind that when we become a mommy, unfortunately, unconscious, we become a mom. first, and we forgot that we are wife. We forgot that we have our own life as well because we devote to our babies. And sometimes I can make that is a little bit tough, you know? Now it's a third person, which is the two of you guys together. But unfortunately, taking all mommy's, time. Yes. So the best way, few things. One of them is daddy care, daddy kangaroo care. Just like a mommy's bond with babies skin to skin, it's, well, in my opinion, one of the most important things for babies to do with their dad, skin to skin. Just baby in the diaper, daddy in the shirt. And you cuddle with your baby. Now, it helps a lot in a lot of different ways. One of them with a mommy that is nursing, well, not nursing, sees this scene of our baby being calm in our husband's chest. If a mommy is nursing, help release more oxytocin, because oxytocin is a hormone of love. I mean, that how lovely is that to see our husbands with our baby calm and like relaxing. So lovely, yes. So that alone is introducing a hormone of love to become more, and that's how we produce more milk, yes? Now, let's say we're not nursing, that's also fine. That's a little, not break, but a little time that mommies can have the me time while our daddies and our babies are happy and content. Why babies content? Because our baby's in skin with the daddy, and daddy transmits his own heat to our baby, the best heat that no clothes can provide. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is like our babies get so comfortable and cuddling with daddy's skin, and now they hear the heartbeat. So you want to put your baby by the heart, so your baby hears the heartbeat, and that's going to help our baby to feel comfortable because he hears his soft white noise. So what a better place to be in our daddy's chest, nice body heat, and a nice soothing sound, which is my daddy's body, my daddy's heartbeat. And that's how babies recognize this is my daddy, because he knows this is daddy, but he doesn't connect with him. And the more they do it, the more happy mommy will be, because it has a me time. If mommy would like to have the me time, because knowing that the baby and the daddy are comfortable. Husband is amazing, happy, because this is my me time with my son, with my daughter, with my baby. And the babies are happy because no better place to be than be cozy and cuddling. So that's number one. The other thing that I love to suggest to parents is that we have routines, yes? Morning routines, night routines. Majority of parents, I'd like to introduce them that they can probably take over, because again, this is my routine with my son, with my babies, yes? So this could be introducing the bath, it could be dressing him, and then mommy can take over. But those little things that we probably don't know that it's big, it would turn to a big thing for our babies and for our daddies to know, I'm helping my baby, I'm bathing him, I'm helping him to start his nighttime routine, I'm helping them to start the morning routine. So those are things that we connect to our babies. And that's how daddies and mommies and everyone is happy, because everyone has their own different thing that they can do then. Yes. So that will also, another suggestion is like letting daddies take over one of the routines. Now, one thing for mommies to keep in mind is that as a woman, we have our bodies structured is different. Yes. Our hands are probably smaller than daddy's. Our bodies is smaller than daddy. And sometimes for our daddies, when they hold the babies, as long the baby is being held by the daddy with the one hand supporting the head and one hand supporting the butt, our babies are safe. Yes? Because as babies get bigger, our hands doesn't get tired. Maybe it could be 6 pounds, 12 pounds, as long as we're holding them right and we're helping them, moving them different way by holding them right, our babies are safe. But if we're holding them by the arms or by the neck or by the head, it's supposed to be head, neck, and shoulder. Open your hands nice and wide. But if our daddies support our babies this way, our babies are safe. It doesn't matter how our husbands walk with them or put them up in the shoulder or cradle them. As long as they're supported right, they're okay. I have come across sometimes few mommies that say to the daddies, but you're not holding me like Maria. Like, you're doing different than Maria. And I'm like, well, kid doesn't mean I'm more smaller. I'm more skinny. My hands are more smaller. So I like to see how comfortable the daddies are with the babies and how safe the babies are with the daddies. That's all what matters. Calming them down, it will take over because daddies feel comfortable. And that's like number one thing to have is in your mind, you're going to help your baby. In your mind, you're going to succeed because that's in your goal, in your mind. That's the goal. So it's going to happen. It will happen because when we said something, our words are stronger and it will happen. Yes. And just like letting mommies know that our babies are safe, our daddy will calm them and everything's going to be great. Just give them the okay to help our babies.
Give them a chance. Maria, what are some common newborn stages that you see? Like do you see like a very common progression in the babies that you work with? They go from this stage to this stage, and then, here they become a little bit more independent, or you do different things with them at night, or you help them in different ways at night.
Yes. So I normally see babies newborn stage, which is up to 28 days, because my schedule is a little bit busy. But I like to stay in touch with my mommies the first years of baby's life. So I see 101 the first 2 weeks, maybe the first 4 weeks. But after that, I just see what mommies can give me the feedback. Yes. In terms of how our infants are developing, how they're doing in terms of like completing their milestones, sitting down and crawling and walking and all that. Yes. But those are the things that I see as long as mommy will share with me, introduce with me. But the 101, I always see them in the first 28 days. It is amazing to see as a newborn how they develop every single day. Going back, I was just explaining to you guys how we have to recognize our babies as small people. Meaning we obviously feed our babies, we play with our babies, we do story time, we do exercise with our babies. And this is all fun time, fun moments that we go through them. And I'm a true believer that our babies, not what the book says, that our baby sees at 2 months, our baby smiles at 2 months, our babies can roll at 2 months. No, because when we treat our babies as a little person, our babies do this much sooner than what you can think of. I have actually a few mommies that will contact me and say, Maria, I went to the mommy and me class at, let's say, 3 months old, and my baby was a little bit different than the other babies. And they were like, what do you do different? And I said, well, I have an amazing baby nurse who told me to do this at this age. And I think it's actually helping. And the mommies were like, well, it clearly is helping because my baby's not what you're supposed to be. But again, let's not compare our babies. Most importantly is what we know. If we understand our baby are small people, we do the same thing that we would like someone to be doing to us, to our baby. And that's all what we need to know. For example, I'm a true believer that narrate to our baby is the best thing that we can do to them. Because in our newborn brain, there's a lot of neurons in there, yes? And they only need the connectors. The connectors are the words, yes? The more we talk to them, the connectors won't do their job. And baby understand. For example, when I introduce parents to do the morning routine, I always say, okay, let's clean the eye, and then let's clean their mouth. But I always go right here. When we clean their baby's mouth, inside the baby's mouth, say, open, 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 open. Remember, repetition always gives a good result. And then at probably 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old, we just go open, 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 and our baby opens her mouth. And people are like, the baby just opened the mouth. I'm like, yeah. How does they know that? Well, because repetition. I will let them know. Even when our babies are sad and they're crying, we're like, you have to acknowledge that they're sad, and you let them know, I know you're sad, but I'm here to help you. Oh, tell me what's going on. What are we going to do? And they get soothed by our voice because they know and they believe you're there to help them. Yes. So the more we do to our small little person, the more results we see. Yes. So that's like so important to do the duration. Let's say our babies are sleeping and we're going to do the nighttime routine. Imagine if someone take you from sleeping and put you in the bathroom just like in the water. You're like, what did you just do to me? The baby, it's nothing different between our babies and us. So we want to let them stretch. We're going to let them, just like figure it out. I just woke up, and you let them know, hey, you woke up. We're going to play. Then we're going to go in the bath. And you say this to him before you do it. And baby understands and make all those connections. So not only that you're having a happy moment with your baby, there's some mommies that say to me, Maria, why do you talk to the baby? The baby is listening to you. But more than you can think of. Yes. So the more we narrate to our babies, we feel like we're not doing something for someone. I mean, for something. We're doing something for our little people, our little baby. Yes. And then you just go on and the day happy because you are communicating with this person. Yes. And you're going to see the results day by day. It's amazing how you can see these results. Babies start seeing 5 weeks old, start smiling at 5 weeks old, start sleeping good. And they cooing and talking to you. And they rolling and picking up their head. And so much things. It's just every day is a happy day because we are doing something where I'm a small person. It's very interesting for me. And I love when sometimes I stay a little longer and I can see the little smile in the queue because when I'm there for the first 2 weeks, they only look at me. But after that, they like smile and like they hear, I can tell like they look up my lips and my mouth when I say something and they just start oh my God, that melts my heart. I mean, that's like my reward. And, going back and like how we can strengthen our babies' vision, when we start introducing them black and white books and then black and white and red. That's when you see the babies, sees red and then all the colors. So it's just very fun how, what we can do with a little person and you just see the results. It's amazing. As you treat them as a small little person, you will acknowledge that, this is what my baby's supposed to be doing. And then you just fun.
In my experience, like the first 2 weeks, you're kind of running on the high of having the baby. You don't want as much sleep. You want to be there for everything. But it's really important to rest. The babies, in my case, in my experience, he was eating really well and then he would fall asleep. And I thought, this is wonderful. And then when we hit about, I think it was like 3.5, 4 weeks, it got a little bit tougher. He had a growth spurt. He seemed like he was really hungry. Much hungrier than the amount that he needed to be getting from like a physical standpoint in terms of ounces to how much he weighed. And he had a lot of tummy troubles. Like he couldn't eat so much at a time. Like he used to be able to, I'd nurse him in 10, 15 minutes, it'd be done. He would sleep for a couple hours. And then it took me an hour, maybe an hour plus to nurse him in one sitting because he had to constantly burp. He was squirming. He had gas issues. So one of the things Maria told me that I didn't know was that around, 3 to 5 weeks, it's quite common for babies to go through a phase of having a bit more gas, a bit more intestinal discomfort because they're growing, right? They're going through a huge growth spurt. They're having growing pains, and it's all very normal. And I think one of the things that Maria really taught me as far as, when you're reaching that second phase of the newborn phase, right? So it's 28 days, that second half is it's really important not to define your baby as anything. Right. So, for example, my husband, Peter, was kind of quick to be like, do you think that he has colic? Is he suffering from colic? Is he crying too much? And by definition, a colicky baby is a baby that cries more than I think it's like 3 hours a day or something like that. But they're really just, right, going back to Maria's point, when babies are crying, they're trying to communicate. And it's all very normal, right? And it's a day-by-day process, and you can't over-label it. So I do think there is this desire by a lot of new parents, expecting parents to be like, all right, what are the correct phases that my child's going to be going through? Every baby's different. Every mom and dad is different. It could last for maybe a week. It could last up to 6 weeks. And I think that at this point right now, Koa, our son, he's going to be 7 weeks. He's 7 weeks today. And I'd say that he still has a bit of a sensitive stomach and we're adjusting to it. But, there's no, I guess, set time that certain, I don't know. I don't like to get too fixated on milestones as like a new parent for this reason, because I just think that it's so different. And you just, to Marie's point, you have to go with the flow and just be positive. And it's about not oversimplifying or just putting a label on your baby. You're going through this process with them. It's their first time doing it. It's your first time doing it. So you got to go through the flow and be as positive as you can.
Yes, I agree.
I love that. I think that was really good advice, Laura.
First-hand knowledge right there.
I think, Maria, in like an ideal situation, everyone would have a village supporting them with a baby. But for a lot of new parents, the reality is that it's kind of just on the two of them, or maybe even you're solo. What advice do you have for someone who can't afford the help or doesn't have that community surrounding them in that newborn stage?
Yes. very few simple things. Just like a little person always spoke, which is stay positive. Um, Knowing that you're here to help your baby, knowing that you're going to help your baby, that's the first thing. Second of all, if your baby is going through any stage where your baby is crying or you just can't find out why your baby is crying, the same, stay positive, introduce the technique to stop crying your baby, try to figure out what the baby needs. Could be burp, could be feeding, could be a diaper change at that point, but it could be the poo change, not the wet diaper. And just resume and goes on. Don't worry about the clock. If your baby's up in the nighttime, take a little bite of something to energy to keep going. And keep in mind that your baby does not want to keep you awake. Your baby is just going through something that we're going to find out. And third, talk to your baby as much as you can. Narrate to your baby. And it's going to be fun because you're not only just walking with your baby quiet. No, you're talking to a small person. Acknowledge that you have a tiny person with you and that it's going to be great for both of you guys.
It's good advice. So I think another common question out there is I'm, scrolling Instagram, not in front of the baby, but, when the baby's sleeping, a lot of different videos for advice, different influencers for advice. And there's so many different things out there, right? So one of the things I was a little confused about is feeding on demand. Every time your baby cries, right? My first inclination was like, they must be hungry. That's the only reason why they're crying. Like, I can just solve this problem by nursing them or giving them a bottle, right? Like, case closed, caso cerrado. But in your opinion, is it a good thing to just be feeding on demand whenever the baby wants? Or do you kind of stick to a routine? Do you kind of meet somewhere in the middle? Does it depend on the baby?
You definitely fit in the middle, depending on the baby, by keeping this very important thing in your mind, which is recall what happened 2 hours ago. Let's say it's 4 p.m. and your baby drink at 2, nurse at 2 p.m. and you finish feeding him by like 3 o'clock and it's 4 o'clock and your baby's crying and you think your baby's hungry. I don't think he's hungry. You can give him the pacifier if you feel comfortable. But that means he's not hungry. He can wait until 4:30. Sometimes our babies, we can teach our baby how to snack. That will be snacking. But if baby had a really good feeding at 2 o'clock and finished feeding by like 2:30 and your baby slept and woke up at 3:50, he's probably hungry. Why? Because he slept. He digests his food. He is ready for more. Yes. So always recall what happened 2 hours ago and you most likely will have the answer. And we stick with the routine. Routine helps our babies. So also the other thing to keep in mind is that our babies are persistent, but we are consistent, meaning we know a little bit more how to help our babies because our babies, will know we're going to make the right thing for them. So that would be my 2 good points to keep in mind. To recall what happened 2 hours ago and just stay consistent. Will help.
Consistency.
That's good advice. The other thing, as far as this, looking back every 2 hours, I have mommy brain, which means my memory cannot be trusted. So one of the things that has been so important for me that I recommend to all moms and new dads out there, keep a log. I like to do it the old-fashioned way, where of actually keeping it in a notebook, writing it down, because it just helps stay in the memory a bit that way. And then you can literally look back and kind of see the patterns and the iterations and think, oh, he's kind of, every 3 days, it's kind of like this. And, oh, last week he did this. And then the day before, you start to make connections that way. So keep a log. You can keep notes in your phone or you can write it down physically, but that is extremely helpful. So you can physically look back. And when I say log, I keep a log of when the baby was asleep, when he had a wet diaper, when he had a dirty diaper, so a poopy diaper. You can go into detail and even keep burps as well. And you can keep in wake periods, like when he had good tummy time. And just kind of, right, you start to see the patterns of these are all the things that he's doing, right? And when he's communicating with you, when he's crying, it's either he's hungry or he's overtired and needs to be lulled back to sleep. Maybe he has a burp. Maybe he's just feeling squiggly and gassy. Maybe he has a dirty diaper. A cool fun fact that I learned from Maria is that, for most of the time when a baby has a wet diaper, you don't need to change it. I was over changing my baby's diaper for the first month. I did not realize this. I thought, oh my God, it's wet. I got to change it. I see the little blue stripe. Not true. Babies are totally fine when they've urinated, you should not disrupt their sleep, because then when you go to change their diaper, they're thinking, oh my God, I'm awake. I need to eat now. When they don't, you confuse them. But when they have a dirty diaper, for the most part, they let you know. And trust me, your nose will also let you know it. And if you have a dog, they will smell it as well. So things you learn, keep a log. It's going to make your life a lot easier.
Okay, Maria, this has been so wonderful. And, I really appreciate, Alara, you coming on and speaking your personal, what's been going on the last couple of weeks for you, and Maria sharing all of your amazing advice. We love to end our podcast with asking our guests 2 questions. So the first one is, what is a life lesson that you have learned the hard way?
Yes. This is obviously not related to what I do for a living, but what I have learned who make me who I am with my family as a wife. Growing up, I was extremely jealous. And when I met my husband, I was very crazy jealous towards him. And it make me learn that we, as a human being, you have to give wings to the next person just to fly. And you have to be there to fly with them. You can't cut their wings and keep them in a jail for you. That's not love. You have to understand that I used to look at myself in my mirror and used to say, I'm not ugly. I think I'm cute. Why should I be jealous of him? Why should I just search his phone or his wallet for things that will only make me crazy? And I try to stay positive. And I try to stay, I'm going to stay positive. I try to put the negativities away. And if they're there, I just put them away. I override positive always with what I do for a living, with my family, with my husband. And it makes me a much better person, better wife, better mom. Even like my older son, he says to me, you guys have a very, very good relationship. I'm like, Anthony, I was the worst person ever to be with as a partner. I was so jealous. But I realized that was not living. I was always concerned. I was always worried. And I would say to myself, I'm getting old. I'm not ugly. This cannot be life, So I learned that you just have to give wings to your partner and things are going to be great, and stay positive. If they're going to do you wrong, it's going to happen. If you guys are not going to be together, it's going to happen. But the moment that I'm here with you, I'm going to do my best. And I'm just going to be positive and share my love. And I learned that the hard way. And I'm still with him, 22 years. I'm in love with him like ever. I have 4 kids, 2 amazing kids. And it's nothing better than just see your partner as a friends when you guys are together. Love is in the air and in the house and everything positive. Don't be jealous. It's not worth it.
Don't be jealous. Yeah, no, I can relate to that one from, a previous relationship. But yeah, it's important to give your partner space to fly. So next question, our follow-up question, which I kind of feel like you touched on a bit with the previous answer, is what's a mantra that you live by besides stay positive? I'm going to throw in that caveat because I know that you're extremely positive. What would be another kind of undercurrent for you in your life journey that you'd want to share?
Through life, positivity is one of the very important, powerful thing to bring to your life and everything that you do for a living. Love is important. Staying positive, in my opinion, overrides everything. Even when I'm sick, I don't like to share to my family that I'm sick. If they will see me and they're like, are you okay? Oh, yeah, sure, I'm okay. Because if I tell my body, my mind, I'm sick, believe me, I'm sick. I remember when I had my 4th baby, it was very, very, very quick. And I couldn't have a epidural. And I remember I was crying for very painful pain. And my husband say, why are you crying? I was just so happy when I had the baby. But believe me, I was crying for pain. And then I remember saying to myself, if I let my body know that I am weak, that I'm going through pain, but wait a minute, this baby had to come out. So I'm going to have to just stay strong and stay positive that my baby needs to make it to this world. And I'm the one who's going to need to provide this. And I have to feed my mind to stay positive. Yes, it's going to happen. It's going to be great. And that's what happened. And then afterwards, I told my husband, I was like, listen, It was like someone was ripping my heart out. Like, seriously. That's how I told my mom. It was so painful. Like, so painful. But staying positive helped me make it through. And then I was able to see him.
Mind over matter. Maria is the epitome of that. Maria, it has been such a pleasure. I could continue picking your brain for several hours. As far as our listeners out there or any watchers, if you would like us to have Maria back on the podcast, you have other questions that we didn't get to today, I understand. Feel free to drop them in the comments below, and maybe we'll have Maria back on to touch on some other life stages as we move through motherhood, because I know that Diana and I are definitely going to be interested.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope this can touch majority of a mommy. My goal has always been, if I'm not present to introduce the little that I knew, I would love this word to spread to all the moms and to be able to pick up some little guys and hopefully it's helped to the majority of mommy that I can listen to it. So yes, thank you very much, Diana. Thank you very much, Lara. It's been amazing to be here.
Sip, savor, and live well with new episodes of the Matcha Guardians every Wednesday. Follow our show for free on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now. Leave your questions and comments below. Find us on Instagram at The Matcha Guardians or click on matcha.com.